Hey you, welcome to my channel, A Year and a Day. My name is Jenny and this is my VR to the hashtag mid-year tarot tag, which was originally started by Chanel from Chanel Days. If you haven't watched her original video, I will link it down below. And I will also link down below the VR from Maureen from the Waves of Your Soul, because I watched hers this morning and felt immediately inspired to do a VR myself. Now, if things are looking or sounding a little bit differently, that is because I am currently in Schwarzwald. I've been talking way too much about my big Schwarzwald adventure, but it is finally happening. In total, I will be staying here in Schwarzwald for 6 weeks. But unfortunately, I am already halfway there, and I surely will share some more of that in a future video. And if you don't want to wait for that, of course you can find me on Instagram to get some sneak peeks. But enough about Schwarzwald, let's dive into the hashtag. And I'm going to try and do my best to show as much as possible. I have brought some decks with me, but unfortunately I couldn't bring all of them. I am able to show a few decks, but for others maybe I will use some photographs or maybe even some footage from previous videos. So please forgive me if this video is a little bit disorganized, but I just felt like having some fun and chat a bit about my tarot collection so far in 2024. So the first prompt is deck you've used the most so far in 2024. And I actually went through my journals for this one just to see which decks I maybe used more than others. And the thing is, I always love to use different decks for every reading and for every month. So there was a lot of variety in the decks I used so far. But there were definitely 3 decks that I used more often and often together. And I happen to have all 3 of them here with me. So I thought I would just show all 3 of them. First is the Roots and Wings Oracle deck. And this has actually been a deck that has been in my collection for a while now. But for some reason I kind of failed to bond with it earlier. But this was really the year that it clicked for me with this deck, and I used it quite a lot, and it also pairs really well with some of my tarot decks in my collection. And I am so happy that I held on to this Oracle deck and gave it another go this year. I've really been enjoying using it. I love the watercolor illustrations, I love the clear keywords, and it's just a very, very lovely deck. A tarot deck I used quite a lot was the Dreaming Way Tarot. This tarot deck originally comes with white borders, but I trimmed my copy. And this tarot deck actually had been on my wish list for quite a long time. And for some reason I wasn't sure about it. I felt that maybe it would be a little bit too quirky for me. But I am so very happy that I got this one in the end, because I absolutely love the illustrations and the whimsical vibe of the deck. And it also has proven to be a really clear and lovely reader. I also brought this deck with me to Schwarzwald last year, so for me it was a no-brainer to bring it again this year. And this one pairs very lovely as well with the Roots and Wings Oracle. As you can see, the illustration styles are very different, but the colors of these decks go very well together. And another tarot deck that I've used a lot this year, also in combination with the Roots and Wings, is the Self-Love Tarot. The Self-Love Tarot is a very gentle and loving tarot deck. I've mentioned many times before that I really love the use of colors in this deck, especially the combination of warm and cooler tones. It also comes with a very lovely guidebook. So for me, the Self-Love Tarot is a really good all-around workhorse deck. And again, I really love the combination with the Roots and Wings Oracle. So even though I've used a lot of decks already in the first 6 months of 2024, these 3 were definitely decks that I kept coming back to. And those are the Dreaming Way Tarot, the Roots and Wings Oracle, and the Self-Love Tarot. The next one is a new deck that came into your collection. Now, I actually got quite a few new decks in 2024, but a deck that I received this year and that I've been using a lot is also a deck that I have brought with me to Schwarzwald. And that is the Lighted Window Tarot. I've actually done a whole first impressions video on this deck, which I will link down below if you would like to see more. But this was a Kickstarter that I backed and I received it this year after a very smooth campaign. And I am really enjoying it. I absolutely love the illustrations, the colors, the whole vibe of it, even though it is quite pippish. Usually I am not a fan of pip decks at all, although I just realized that the Self-Love Tarot is actually also kind of pippish. But I guess there are a few exceptions that really make me love the deck, even though there are pips in it. So this was a deck that came into my collection in 2024 and I'm very happy it did. And I'm also very happy that I brought it with me to Schwarzwald because I've been using this one a lot. And that's a Lighted Window Tarot. Next one is most anticipated deck that was released this year. And for me this was not so much a deck that was released, but it was a Kickstarter that launched. And it was the Children of Ostara Tarot. I've already mentioned the Children of Litha Tarot quite a few times here on my channel. I think it's an absolutely beautifully illustrated deck. And when I found out the Children of Ostara Tarot was launching soon on Kickstarter, I was super excited. I put it in my calendar and I counted the days until the launch. And that was in part because I was really looking forward to backing the Children of Ostara Tarot. But secretly, I also really hope to get my hands on a Children of Litha Gold edition. These tarot decks are part of a whole series the creator is planning to do, and the backs will all be the same. This way you can, by the end of it, combine all of the decks or create your own deck with all your favorite cards. Now, since I'm not a real big fan of the cardstock of the Children of Litha, I already knew I would be backing the Children of Ostara Gold edition. But because the Children of Litha Gold edition was a Kickstarter exclusive, I do not have that deck. And somehow I completely had hoped that the creator would do a reprint of the Children of Litha Gold, so I could work towards a set of all of the decks in the same cardstock. Unfortunately, that will not be happening, so I ended up only backing the Children of Ostara Gold edition. And that was a little bit of a bummer, I'm not going to lie. At the same time, the Children of Ostara tarot looks absolutely lovely, and I am looking forward to receiving that deck in the future. Next up is the biggest disappointment. Apart from not being able to get my hands on a Children of Litha Gold edition, I was also pretty disappointed by the Zodiac Tarot in a tin. I actually, up until very recently, had not owned any tarot in a tin. And since I really disliked the cardstock and the size of the Zodiac Tarot, I was really happy to learn that there would be a Zodiac in a tin version. I very rarely buy several copies of the same deck, but I was completely planning to do that for the Zodiac Tarot. I really love the illustrations, but like I said, the bigger version gets not a lot of use, and that's mainly to do with the size and the cardstock. The big version has very glossy cardstock and it leaves kind of fingerprints and stuff. It's just not a very pleasant experience. And because usually the tarot in a tin editions have different cardstock, I had completely assumed that that would be the case as well for the Zodiac Tarot in a tin. But I was very disappointed to find out that that is not the case. Or at least I came across a review here on YouTube. I am very sorry, I do not remember on which channel I saw this review. But I was so very thankful that somebody took the time to share their experience with the Zodiac Tarot in a tin. Because, lo and behold, the smaller tin version had the exact same crappy cardstock as the bigger version. And the person who made the review was also very disappointed in that, and I was right along with them. So much so that I see zero reasons to get myself the Zodiac Tarot in a tin. So I'm not sure why the publisher decided on the same cardstock in this case, but unfortunately it means I will not be getting a copy of that deck. Next one is the biggest surprise. And for me that was the Tarot of the Unknown. A tarot deck based on the illustrated series Over the Garden Wall. I didn't bring the deck with me, so I will show some footage of a previous video. But for me, the big surprise was that I was even able to get this deck in the first place. I had never seen the cartoon Over the Garden Wall, but I heard Krista from Krista Chronicles here on YouTube mention it around Halloween time last year. And she was a big fan of the show and recommended it. And I actually remember I started to watch the show and being really bummed out immediately because I absolutely loved it. I loved the illustrations and the sense of humor. But as far as I knew, the Tarot of the Unknown was out of print. So I completely and immediately assumed that I wouldn't be able to get my hands on this deck. Fast forward quite a few months, and I was on the website of Salon des Arcanes, which is a French webshop, and I was kind of browsing completely other decks when I stumbled across a mini version of the Tarot of the Unknown. And I remember just throwing a bunch of decks in my cart to make the best of shipping, of course, and then placing the order, because I was just so absolutely surprised that they had one left in stock. And that's how I got my hands on a Tarot of the Unknown copy. And I was really surprised and really delighted. Next is Deck Crush, a deck you're in love with. And for this one I chose the Spacious Tarot. I actually randomly placed this in my cart together with the Tarot of the Unknown deck when placing that order, because this one had kind of been on my radar but not really high on my wish list. But I remember when seeing it, at that moment I knew it was time for me to get this deck. Now, as you can see, it is still in order and it's missing a few cards. Those are in the box. And that's because I'm currently doing a deck study with this deck. I am going over every card and reading the guidebook and giving my own interpretation and first impressions of the cards. And it's just a really, really lovely process to go through. It's just a deck that feels really special to me, and it feels like it has something to teach me about tarot and about reading tarot. So I am actually very much looking forward to completing my deep dive into this deck so I can really start reading with it. And that's why I chose the Spacious Tarot as my deck crush. Next up, my favorite tarot cards of 2024 so far. And immediately two came to mind. And those are the Hermit and the Knight of Pentacles. And these two cards are from the Lighted Window Tarot. But it was more that these two cards played a specific role in my first half of 2024 and actually showed up in several readings. And they really encouraged and supported me in a very personal process I went through in these first 6 months of this year, where I was really trying to follow my heart and make a dream come true, which basically meant planning this whole workation I am doing here at the moment in Schwarzwald. The Hermit really encouraged me to go within and to not be afraid to be on my own and to be alone with my own thoughts and really take the time to be quiet and just to be and to listen. While the Knight of Pentacles encouraged me to go slow and steady and keep working on my goals. To not rush through or take things for granted, to take it step by step and not lose sight of everything and everyone that supports me in reaching my goals. And that's why I chose the Hermit and the Knight of Pentacles as my two favorite tarot cards so far in 2024. Next is a deck that makes you happy. Now, pretty much all of my tarot decks make me really happy because I love working with them. I often refer to my tarot collection as my cabinet of emotions. I absolutely love being able to mix and match and find decks that suit my mood or my emotions in a particular moment. That being said, I have brought a deck with me that is just really light and happy to me. And that is the How to Be a Wildflower deck. Now, this is not a tarot deck and it's not even really an oracle deck, but it is a deck of cards filled with very lovely, bright and summery illustrations. I've mentioned this deck many times before on my channel. Every summer, this is one of my go-to decks. I absolutely love it. And one of the things that I love so much about it is that you do not only have all these beautiful illustrations in all these lovely, happy colors. On the backs you also have certain quotes or affirmations. So you can really play around with that and choose which side to display. Maybe mix and match. So a deck that makes me happy is the How to Be a Wildflower deck. Next is the most beautiful deck this year. I thought it would be fun to mention a deck here that is not in my collection, but that I am kind of lusting over. And that's a Mio Im's tarot. I am not sure if it was released in 2024, but it definitely got on my radar in 2024. And as soon as I saw the illustrations, I was absolutely mesmerized. I think it's an absolutely beautiful deck. And honestly, when I saw it, I was like, this is a no-brainer. I am ordering this deck. And then I saw the price. This deck is priced at $120, and then on top of that will come shipping and taxes. So basically this deck will easily cost me 150 euros if I were to order it. For me, that's just way too much money, and I cannot really talk myself into getting this deck. So I would definitely say that I think this is one of the most beautiful decks I've seen this year, but unfortunately I will keep on admiring it from afar. The next prompt is, what deck do you want by the end of the year, or are you still waiting for? So I thought I would just mention the Kickstarters here that I have backed, and I don't know if all of them will get to me in 2024, but of course that would be great. The first one is the Bestiary of Women Oracle by the creator of the Self-Love Tarot. And I'm actually pretty sure this one is waiting for me back home. So as soon as I'm home, I will be able to get my hands on this one. Then of course the Children of Ostera Tarot that I mentioned earlier. I also backed the Victorian Fairy Tarot, and I hope that one will arrive this year as well. I also backed the Teeny Tiny Tarot and two of the new mini divvies by Holly Audley. And I backed the mini divvy Lore and the mini divvy Witching. And because I was backing anyway, I also threw in the Teeny Tiny Tarot as well. And last but not least, I am really looking forward to receiving the Little Bird Tarot by our own Shanna D here on YouTube. So those are the Kickstarters that I actually backed and will be receiving, hopefully in 2024. And I also thought it would be fun to mention one mass market deck that I recently noticed and that I'm really looking forward to. And that's the Yokai Tarot, illustrated by Marga Biazzi, who is also known as Black Banshee. I've been keeping my eye out on a Yokai Tarot or Oracle deck, but most of the decks that are out there are not translated to English yet. But seeing this one and the style of the illustrations and the fact that it's in English, I am just absolutely sold, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this deck. Next up is which deck hasn't been used yet but you want to work with this year. I am actually planning to do quite a big deck purge this year. I've already selected close to 20 decks that will be leaving my collection. So the decks that haven't been used yet or aren't being used are mostly decks that will be leaving my collection. That being said, I have very recently received a Kickstarter, and that's the Exile Tarot, and I got both the Awaken and Silent versions in a tin. These decks are by the same creator of the Monsoon Tarot, and to be honest, these are 3 decks that I am not really sure about yet. I have not really intensively used the Monsoon Tarot at all, and then kind of got swept into the whole Kickstarter thing and ordered the Awaken and Silent editions of the Exile Tarot. But they haven't really grabbed me yet, so maybe these are decks that I should work with a little bit more this year to see if I want to keep them in the long run or should maybe rehome them. And then the favorite video you've made. For me, this was my VR to the hashtag Tarot for My Age by Shanna D. I made that VR when turning 40, and it was a very confronting but also healing experience. And it was just a very beautiful process to take a look back at my life and all the little chapters that are in there and try to connect them with decks in my collection. It was a very personal video as well, so it was a bit scary posting it, but in the end I am very happy that I did, because like I said, it can be quite a healing process to take a look at your life that way. So that's definitely a video that's very close to my heart. And that's it. That was my VR to the hashtag mid-year tarot tag. Thank you so much, Chanel, for creating this hashtag. I had a lovely time going over all the prompts, and I hope you all enjoyed taking a look at some of the decks that I worked with or received in these first 6 months of 2024. And with all of that being said, I wish you all a lovely rest of your day or night, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!